All right, Orange County, let's get into it. So we open with Emily and Callie, and they're talking a little bit about the trip. Emily can't go because she reveals that she has tested positive for C-19. And Shane is also sick, so she's not sure if the kids have it, but she knows that she definitely has it, and Shane pretty much has it. He's sick. So that sucks. She can't go on the trip, and we're gonna see how this trip goes because if Shannon possibly has it because of her daughter, Emily can't go. Like, who's gonna be left? I feel like they're dropping like flies now. Okay, so Shannon isn't going because we're with Bronwyn and Shane. Why do I always want to call him Shane? Bronwyn and Sean. I still don't want to even look at Bronwyn, but she's freaking out about going on the trip because Shannon can't go and Emily can't go, and she doesn't want to be in a house full of women who are partying and possibly drinking, which I'm pretty sure they're going to be drinking. And so she's going to take her own car. She's got like her sponsors like ready. They all know that she's going to be on this trip, so she'll be able to contact them if she needs to. I feel like Bronwyn needs to just leave the show. I think we know that there's only like a few episodes left, but after this, she just needs to leave the show. I'm not sure her like sobriety can maintain this, and it's also like a lot of stress. And plus, I mean, she still needs therapy and some anger management for her verbal and physical abuse that she puts on Sean, and I'm not over that still. And nobody is holding her like accountable for this. So I really hope at that reunion that they bring this up and that she gets some help because I don't think it's right that she's on the show and she's a verbal and physical abuser. But she's getting ready for that trip. And I know I mentioned on the last review about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Taylor. That's the name I couldn't remember. Taylor and her husband and their alleged abusive relationship. But also like with Gina and the alleged abuse that happened last season, the fact that they brought her ex-husband on and allowed him to be on when there's a case against him right now because of the alleged abuse. And he's just allowed to be on the show, like and now like Bronwyn, I feel like what is going on? Like, how is this okay? And this kind of reminds me of like the Real Housewives of Potomac with Michael Darby. There was alleged sexual assault charges put up against him, and he's just allowed to be walking around on the show. Bravo always talks about, hey, like, we don't condone violence, we don't condone this, but then they show it and they profit off of it. So it's like full of BS. My little rant is done. Let's get back to the episode. So Kelly is the first to arrive at the Lake Arrowhead Villas. It's huge. The place is huge. It's beautiful. It looks amazing. Kelly is struggling with the hand sanitizer dispenser. And she also starts talking about how, like, since this is like in the middle of the woods, she kind of feels like it's like Camp Crystal Lake from Friday the 13th. And I feel like those camp counselors should be so lucky to stay at a place that nice because they were staying in trash environment and those little whack ass cabins and getting slaughtered by Jason. At least if you're gonna get like hacked up by a serial killer with the hockey mask, I would much rather stay in this nice ass place. So I don't want to hear any more complaints, Kelly. Bronwyn stops by John's place, which is Shannon's boyfriend, to check on Shannon. Shannon has to self-isolate there because all three of the girls have tested positive for C-19. And this, like, these badass kids, they would not listen to Shannon. Now they all have it. She's afraid of them being alone. I don't know why they can't stay with her father. Maybe, I think he does have like a pregnant girlfriend, so maybe that's why, but this is what they get. But Shannon's daughter is about to go to college, so I feel like she's old enough to take care of the kids, but like, why would you want to have to do this? And this is like this is their fault for sneaking off and partying, and now they're sick. Poor Shannon. Poor Shannon. Usually Shannon is a hot mess. And it's been really hard to support her and defend her, but like this time I'm all on her side. She's got some badass kids. Kelly is talking to her boyfriend Rick. Elizabeth shows up, and now like they're talking about who gets the master bedroom. They're gonna give it to Gina because she's got all those kids, which is very nice. And then Kelly talks about she's feeling sick. And so she has like a pharmacy full of stuff to stay healthy. I'm like, if you're sick, if you're feeling sick, why are you here? I would have kindly asked her to leave and go home and feel better soon. But she's drinking wine, so whatever. They start talking about Bronwyn investigating Elizabeth's background and stuff, and Kelly asks where she heard it from, and Elizabeth says Emily. And then Gina shows up. They made it, the shady editors at Bravo try to make it seem like Bronwyn was about to show up and be like, surprise! But no, it's Gina. So they're waiting for Bronwyn to show up, and they're drinking Kelly's positive water. So then Elizabeth starts talking about, well, Bronwyn was throwing all this shade about me hanging out with my friends and not being safe, even though like we didn't test positive and we were wearing our mask. And then she's like, somebody sent me a video of Bronwyn out at the pool with Sean with no masks, and we see the video. They're just hanging out at the pool with no masks, but she's been telling everybody else that they need to be safe and stay protected. And then Bronwyn shows up, and everyone's like, hey! So Kelly being Kelly, she calls Bronwyn out. She's like, you remember how you told me not to go to this place because it's not safe? Well, somebody sent Emily a video of you there. Not Emily, Elizabeth. Elizabeth a video of you there. And Bronwyn's like, yeah, that was after. That was after. I called you after I found out I wasn't supposed to be there. Okay, Bronwyn. So who's lying? Like, who's lying? And then she starts talking about Kelly, how she's like loud with the truth, and hopefully people will believe her. But I feel like you're very like snappy and snotty with the truth. I mean, you're just as bad as Kelly. I feel like Bronwyn's always like, well, I'm sober now, so I tell the truth. And I feel like Kelly's like, well, I'm loud and I tell it to your face, so I'm telling you the truth. They're both horrible messes. And I feel like Bronwyn is a hypocrite. So the women start talking about Shannon and how like she's not being responsible because even though she has all these rules, she's letting John and the kids come in and out of the house, and now all the kids are sick and Shannon could be getting sick, which we know later on she does. So they're talking about it. Bronwyn gets upset. She leaves, and they're asking her like, what's up? And she's like, I just don't want to talk about Shannon behind her back while she's sick. Which would be fine if you weren't pulling another hypocritical move by like trying to be like, oh, I don't want to talk about my friend behind her back, but then you were investigating Elizabeth and her whole background behind her back and telling all your friends. Like, Bronwyn, I can't with her. I can't. There's been so many times I've tried to be sympathetic with her sobriety, but she is her mother's daughter. And that's all I have to say. No, I will be saying more, but I can't with this woman. So Shannon is being Shannon, a hot mess, with trying to make her little elixir to feel better. Sophie and the girls are by themselves. Sophie has stepped up and she's taking care of the girls. They do say that they miss their mom. I'm glad she is. She seems to be doing well, taking care of the girls, but she does say like, we miss our mom. And I definitely feel that, because no matter how old you are, there's nothing like when your mom takes care of you when you're sick. It's like better than anything. Even better than like your spouse or like a best friend. Like when your mom takes care of you when you're sick, you really feel like you're being so taken care of. You feel like a little kid again, wrapped up in your bed, drinking orange juice and water, and just being so taken care of. So I feel for the girls, even though they're badass kids. I do feel for them that Shannon's not there to take care of them. Bronwyn should have stayed home. They are on the attack. Gina's like, what's up? Bronwyn's like, I don't want to talk about someone who's not there. Kelly steps in. She's like, well, you didn't mind when they were all talking trash about me last year. You didn't say anything. And so like, Kelly and Elizabeth, Gina's like, you shouldn't have looked into Elizabeth, and Bronwyn has nothing to say. She's like, I just didn't feel like things were adding up. I'm like, that's not an excuse. I'm mad at Bronwyn because she has me siding with Kelly. I feel like Kelly is right. Like, Kelly is like, you're a hypocrite and you're performative, and it just feels fake. It feels just like last season when they were calling her fake. She feels fake again. I really tried with her earlier this season. I felt for her, felt compassion her struggling with her sobriety. But it does feel like the same Bronwyn. She's fake, she's hypocritical, she does things that they all do, but then she tries to uphold this image and feels like make it seem like she's so perfect, and she's doing just as shady, nasty things. Hell no to these masks. I do not deal with clowns. Kelly brought these horrible masks to scare Gina. I would be gone. I would leave and I would never come back. You would never see me again. Shannon and John Skype with the girls. They just talk about like how they're doing. Sophie admits to having diarrhea. I would never, no. Of course, they talk about how dramatic and how Shannon over exaggerates, and she does. She really does. I can see why they didn't want to tell her, but you still should have listened to her. Shannon was right, you guys were wrong, and now you're sick. So maybe you should start listening to your hypochondriac mother, and this will keep you from getting sick again. So we find out that Bronwyn's not staying there. She's staying at a resort close by. I understand. She says like once they start partying and drinking, it's like a fun high and then they come crashing down. So she's gonna stay at a resort. I wouldn't have gone, but I mean she's contracted to, so she has to. Then Gina gets really nosy and asks about Bronwyn's marriage. She's like, "How is your marriage since you've been sober?" And Bronwyn says, it's been bad. We haven't had sex in a while. And I'm like, well, maybe because you hit him. I don't know. That would make me not want to have sex with my spouse if he slapped me across the face. Maybe that's why you're not having sex, Bronwyn. And you're a tyrant and like a belligerent sober person. You're not. I thought it was interesting that Bronwyn said, like, I mean, because Bronwyn and Gina talk about Sean being an enabler, and look, he's not perfect. He is definitely has some problems, and he did enable her drinking, and she asked him, like, why didn't you just take the kids and run? And he said, I thought if we left, you would die. That's very dark, but I'm sure it's very true for him, and, he needs help. He needs therapy. I'm glad he's in Al-Anon. It's probably hard to do that now because of the pandemic, but they both need help, but he especially needs to be out of this relationship. I can't imagine what it's been like for him dealing with this and trying to understand himself. Like, I know Bronwyn's trying to figure out, like, what is my life? How did I get in this relationship? How did I become a drunk? And how do I deal with being sober? And I'm sure Sean is also wondering, like, how do I deal with this sober person who hates me and verbally and physically attacks me? And now I need to figure out, like, what I'm going to do with my life and how to not be an enabler and stand on my own. So it's just interesting. Like, it's an interesting situation. Poor sarcastic Shane. He's sick as a dog. Emily tested positive. Shane tested negative, but he's the sickest one. And poor Emily has to like take care of him and the kids. And Shane is behaving like any man does when he's sick, like a child. Because men are the worst when they are sick. They are the worst. Don't let them tell you anything different. They are the worst. I can't imagine poor Emily dealing with him and the kids. Yeah, you never want to see a man when he's sick. It's awful. And Kelly is such a jerk, but we're not surprised. Gina talks about how she feels like Bronwyn's funnier now that she's sober. Kelly, of course, says, nah, I liked her better when she was drunk. And then she makes fun of Bronwyn doing the paddleboarding. Is that what it's called? She was paddleboarding, and she was saying that Bronwyn sucks. So then Kelly has to go out there and show him how it's done. She gets out there, lasts all of 5 seconds, and then falls in. That's what you get. And now Kelly gets caught talking crap about Bronwyn to Shannon because she's talking crap. She can't see her come around. Bronwyn comes around, hears everything. Oh, Kelly. Bronwyn, Elizabeth, and Gina are cooking disasters. Kelly is having to do all of the cooking, and it's a hot mess in there. Gina and Bronwyn are talking about how Bronwyn kept wine in the house because she's allergic to wine, but then It got late at night and she's still struggling with her sobriety and she really wanted some wine, so she threw all the wine out. And then just being in this environment is a lot for her, so she goes outside to call Sean. I keep wanting to call him Shane. To call Sean. He doesn't pick up right away. One of the kids does, and she snaps on him and says, like, what was the one thing I told you to do? Have your phone ready when I call. Like, a psycho. And he's like, I'm putting the kids down to bed. Calm down. Like, what do you need? I would lose my mind dealing with this woman. So she just explains, like, how tough it is to be in this environment, and she's struggling, and he's there to listen and be supportive. Poor Shane. He's gotten worse, and Emily has to take him to the emergency room. And because of protocol, like, she's not allowed to go in there with him, like, for the safety of her and other people in the hospital. So she's not allowed to go in there. So he's just alone and sick. And I feel for her. I'm sure that's scary. But this is like the situation that we're dealing with. And this is why people are stressing so hard for people to be safe and take precautions. Because, like, it's scary. And you don't know what could happen, no matter how old or young you are. So we're back with the ladies. And Kelly is talking about Rick. Rick's daughter calls him conservative. Gina's like, well, he does work for Fox, so what do you expect his daughter to call him? Now we're getting into, you can't tear down these national statues and stuff because we can't rewrite history. We're not rewriting history. We're just finally learning the truth about our history, and people don't know how to handle it. And other people are pissed off about it, so they want to tear this crap down because you're holding this as a symbol of pride and great joy when it was also a symbol for you, but for the rest of us, it was a symbol of terror and torture and torment and slavery and BS and lies. So here we go. We're gonna get into it. The Real Housewives of Orange County. Like, this is the first time they've ever spoken about this stuff, but because of the environment that we're in, let's get into it. Bronwyn's making some valid points. Kelly can't handle it. She's either silent, or she's telling Bronwyn she doesn't know what she's talking about, or saying that by taking down these statues, we're living in a communist country. Like, this is the problem that we have when we get political. A lot of these people don't know what they're talking about, especially you, Kelly. You take sound bites and you're using them to throw them out, and that's the only way you know how to defend your false argument. But go off. And again, with the elitism from Kelly, just because Bronwyn didn't go to college doesn't mean she doesn't know what she's talking about. I can't stand this. As someone who went to college, that doesn't mean shit. It doesn't. You can't throw that on people. There's plenty of people who did not go to college who know a lot more about what they're talking about than you, Kelly. You clearly don't. And please don't all of a sudden say, I'm Mexican, I'm a minority. You're a white passing minority, and you never bring up your Mexican heritage unless it's to defend your nasty racist arguments. Stop it. Enough. Like, enough with this. Why is she still on this show? For some laughs? She's a buffoon. An idiot, racist buffoon. Just because you're Mexican doesn't mean anything. There's plenty of non-black people who are racist against black people. It does, whether you're a minority or not, doesn't mean anything. It holds no weight. And especially when you only bring it up so that you can make your racist arguments. Sit down. So they're talking about cops. There's bad cops. There's way too many bad cops for us to keep having this conversation. And Kelly's talking about, well, don't destroy things. So, and this is another issue. People have more of an issue with people destroying things than they do with people destroying people. Like, murdering people is okay, but destroying these statues and some buildings is not. So we already know where these people stand. I'm glad Gina spoke up about being arrested. She, as a white woman, has never had, like, when she was arrested, she never feared the cops and never thought that her life was in danger and never thought that she could possibly be killed for being arrested. But she does admit that if she was a black woman, that it could have gone completely different. And that is what we're stressing. Like, we just need people to understand that there is racism, that there is a problem. And we need way more of you to wake up and understand it. And this conversation gets me so heated, as it should, because I'm a black woman. I am glad that Gina and Bronwyn are speaking up. Even Elizabeth is talking about her white privilege, even though I've heard that she says some horrible things, but she's saying something. We know how Kelly is, we know who Kelly is, so it's expected. It's unfortunate, but it's expected. The night is winding down. Bronwyn leaves after dinner, and the girls are discussing, like, Bronwyn, and they want, like, Elizabeth to confront her. Like, if you have something to say, you should say it to her face. So she's going to do it the next day, and they feel like Bronwyn has two sides to her, which she does, and they don't know how Sean deals with it. Nobody does. So Bronwyn has checked into her resort, and now it's just the ladies by themselves. Nope, I'm gone. I'm leaving. I'm staying with Bronwyn. There is, like, this bug infestation, Lord. In Gina's room in the master suite, it's swarming in the corner. There's so many of them. Elizabeth said there's a spider in the corner too. Like, no, I'm gone. I'm not staying here. I don't feel safe. I'm leaving. This is worse than Jason. This is worse than having Jason there. I'm gone. I can't deal with these bugs. I'm staying with Bronwyn. I can't. One last check-in with Emily. Poor Shane. He's struggling. He's texting her and he's saying it's, like, worse than prison. He's, like, fighting every hour to live. So, I'm sure he's better now, but that has to have been awful. But there's nothing they can do, and just, he's in the hospital at least getting care. So, yeah. But that wraps up this episode. So depressing. That wraps up this episode of The Real Housewives of Orange County. Please let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and make sure you hit that notification bell to be in the know when I release a new video. And subscribe if you're new to this channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!